let's get it out, please. Let's mark my purchase worksheet. All right, like it was pointed out yesterday, 3 and 4 were exactly the same questions as 1 and 2. So you only have to do 1 and 2. Now, 1.1 was that question where you had to do a lot of working, okay, because they asked for the total amount paid. And in order to get the total amount paid, you needed to find A, so that you could add your deposit to it, right? So you had to find your deposit, see if you did that somewhere, the deposit was 500 rand. Then in order to find A, you first have to minus your deposit from the cash price. All right, so you have to go through lots of steps. So your outstanding balance, it's fine with the pieces like balance. They don't have to write outstanding this time. With 5,000 minus the deposit. Remember, cash price minus deposit. And that then gives you 4,500 rand. That is what you put in your simple interest formula as P. All right, your balance, that becomes P. That becomes your P value. You might have done an extra step here in 1.1 where you actually calculated the monthly installments. That's fine. I only did it in 1.3. Okay, but it's all right if you did it as a part of 1.1. It's no problem. Remember, for the simple interest formula, your balance is now your P value. 1 plus, they give you this interest rate. They tell you that the hire purchase is at an interest rate of 18%, and it was for 2 years. So that is 6,120 rand. Remember, this is what you're actually going to pay back over 2 years. That includes the interest. But if they're asking for the total amount paid, it's always your A value plus your deposit. Right, so A plus deposit. So the total amount paid was actually 6,620 rand. Then 1.2, they asked how much interest was paid. All right, we wrote that down in the example as well. The interest is always your total amount paid minus the cash price. So it's total minus cash price. Now, if your total amount paid was wrong here, and this is an test, for example, we would have given you a CA mark if you then used this wrong answer there. Okay, unless it got you to like a negative value or something. Okay. So the interest was 1,620 rand. And then in 1.3, now, like I said already, you might have done this calculation in 1.1. Then you must just write your answer. All right, the monthly installments. Now, guys, remember the monthly installments, you've already paid the deposit. So the deposit isn't included in your monthly installments. All right, so your monthly installments is always going to be your A value. So 6,120 rand. And you divide that by the number of months. Okay, so it was 2 years, so 2 times 12 is 24. Any questions on number 1? Okay, number 2 was a bit of a different type of question because they gave you 2 options, option A and option B. They asked you to calculate the total amount paid, which again is this whole thing, and then the monthly installment, which is this calculation, for option A and option B. And then in the end, they asked you which one you would choose. Okay, so I'm going to show you my working for option A. Option B is on the back of the page. All right, so again, you must go through all of those steps for both of them. So in option A, they said that you have to pay a deposit of 20%. So you must calculate that. And guys, the deposit is the first thing that you pay, so that's the first thing that you must work out as well. All right, so the deposit was 2,400 rand. You must then minus that from the cash price. So 12,000 minus your deposit to get your balance. And the balance then becomes your P value in your formula. Now for option A, they said that you are paying 20% interest And then they said 36 months. But guys, remember, N is not the number of months. N is the number of years. So if you put a 36 in here, then he's going to pay this thing for 36 years. Okay, that's a bit extreme. So please, N is always the number of years. If they give you that number in months, you must divide it by 12 to get the number of years. So your A value here was 15,360. So the total amount paid is then A plus your deposit, which is 17,760. Okay, that's the first part of the question done. Then they ask for your monthly installment. Again, guys, you're not going to pay the monthly installment. That's not going to include your deposit. You've already paid that. You're not going to pay the deposit twice. So your monthly installment is always A divided by 36 in this case, because they said 36 monthly installments. Guys, very important when we're working with money, you must always round to 2 decimals. Okay, they might not say that in the question, but I think that makes sense, right? If you're working with money, we're working with rands and cents. So you have to always round to 2 decimals, even if they don't say that. Okay, that's very important. Yes. Yeah. Okay, are we fine with this one, with option A? Now we have to do all the same steps, but using option B's information. All right, which was the same cash price, also 12,000 Rand, but they gave us different information. Waiting for everyone to finish this. Right, option B. On option B, they told us that the deposit is 2,000 Rand. Okay, we didn't have to calculate the deposit for that one. They told us straight, deposit is 2,000. So then your balance, remember it's always your cash price minus your deposit. So it's 12,000 minus 2,000, so it's 10,000 in this case. Your balance then becomes your P value in your simple interest formula. So P is 10,000, the balance. Here we have a higher interest rate, right? In option B, they said the interest rate is 22%. So 22 over 100. Guys, they said 30 months. 30 months, how many years is that? 1 year is 12. 2 years would be 24. And then we have another 6 months to get to 30. Does that make sense? That is 2.5 years. If you don't know that, guys, you can just, or if you don't want to take chances, maybe you just want to double check, you can just take the calculator and you take the number of months that they gave you and you divide it by 12, because there are 12 months in 1 year, and it will come up as 2.5, 2.5. Okay. So our N value here, again, if you use 30, you're going to get a very big number, because that means that this guy is paying this off over 30 years. Okay, well, it's actually 2.5 years. So that then gives you an A value of 15,500 Rand. To get your total amount paid, you have to take your A value plus your deposit, so 17,500. But you must also get your monthly installment, which is always your A value divided by the number of months, which in this case now is 30, like they told us. So then we get to that monthly installment. Now guys, 4.2 was open to interpretation. It would have been okay if you said option A with a valid reason or option B with a valid reason, because different people have different circumstances, different needs in a month. All right. Option A had a monthly installment of 426 Rand. So if we look at all the other stuff, in general, I think option A is not as good as option B, because firstly, you have to pay a bigger deposit. Then you're paying more in total, right? On option B, it was 17,500 that you're paying off in total. And you're also paying it off for longer. You're paying for 3 years, all right? But the monthly installment is less. Now, some people could possibly only afford 426 Rand in a month. Then they would choose option A, all right? Because that is what is actually coming off every month. So that's why I said here, option A, because it has smaller installments. Okay, so that might be important for certain people. You're paying less off every month. Or if you said option B, you could have multiple reasons there. It has a smaller deposit, all right? You might not have 2,400 Rand to pay immediately. You might only have 2,000. In that case, you would say option B. Or if you are comparing the fact that here you're paying 17,500 Rand in total, on the other one you're paying 17,700 Rand, that might be important to you. You don't want to pay 200 Rand extra in the long run. You could have said that, or you could have said shorter time period, all right? Option A, you're paying off for 36 months, option B, only 30. Okay, so just make sure that you have either option A and this, or option B and one of those things. Okay. Are there any questions on this worksheet? No questions. All right, we are going to move on to compound interest today. Now, guys, I am recording this lesson for the other group. So the other group and everyone that isn't here for some reason will have to watch this lesson. And then same goes for you guys tomorrow, or tomorrow, Wednesday. I'm going to also record tomorrow's lesson, and then you guys may watch it at home. Okay. Fortunately, the syllabus is so full that if we lose more days, we're actually not going to get through everything that we have to. Okay. So you can write the new heading, compound interest. And now we are finally going to learn the new formula. We've been working with the simple interest formula this whole time. Now we're learning a new formula for compound interest. It's very similar though. So the only difference is, if you look at that formula, that now the n isn't in the bracket. With simple interest, it's I times n inside the bracket. With compound interest, it's I close bracket, and then the whole bracket is to the power of n. So that's the only difference. Again, all of these letters have the same meaning as for simple interest. I am going to fill them all in again, but nothing changes. It's just the actual formula that changes. All right. So A is still our final amount. Which includes interest. P is still the original amount. Borrowed or invested. I is still the interest rate. And N is still the number of years. Now, I do want us to just do a little comparison table quickly so that I can show you the actual difference between simple interest and compound interest. Okay, it's not just that it has a different formula, all right? The whole concept is actually different. So let me just think. I'm just going to say, for example, 1,000 Rand is invested at 10% per annum. Yeah, I'll explain that now. Those are the headings for the table. So guys, if I'm putting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here, that's after 1 year, after 2 years, after 3, 4, 5, and 6 years. Okay, so that we can see what happens if this amount was invested earning simple interest, and then what happens if it was invested earning compound interest. Now, simple interest is where interest earned only on original amount. Okay, that's the definition of simple interest actually. Interest is earned only on the original amount. So if I'm telling you that we've invested 1,000 Rand, the interest in year 1 is going to be 10% of 1,000 Rand. The interest in year 2 is going to be 10% of the original amount of 1,000 Rand. The interest in year 3 is again going to be 10% of the 1,000 Rand. We are going to calculate it now, but that is how simple interest works. The interest is earned only on the original amount. Compound interest is different because here interest is earned on original amount plus interest already earned. So I'll show you now what that means, what the implications of that would be if we're actually doing the calculations. Okay, so let's quickly calculate how much interest we are earning with simple interest. 10% of 1,000 Rand. 10%, so 10 over 100 times 1,000. So we're earning only 100 Rands worth of interest in the first year. Okay, do you see what I'm doing? I'm just calculating 10% of the original amount. Okay, so the interest that we're earning here is 100 Rand. So what does that mean? How much money do I then have in my account? How much did I start out with? 1,000, and now I'm earning 100 Rand. So at the end of this year, I'm going to actually have 1,100 Rand in that account. At the end of year 2, interest earned only on original amount. So I am again going to only earn 10% of the original amount. Again, I'm going to earn 100 Rand. How much money will I then have if I add this 100 rands worth of interest now? 1,200. After 3 years, again, interest earned only on original amount. Again, I'm going to earn 10% of 1,000 rand. So again, I'm going to earn 100 rand. That will leave me with 1,300. And the same thing is going to happen every year, guys. If you're just earning interest on the original amount, you're going to earn the same amount of interest every year. I hope that makes sense. Because every year it's just 10% of 1,000. It doesn't matter how much money is in that account at that point. It's always calculated on the original amount. So again, we're going to earn 100 rand. Next year, 100 rand again. And then in the 6th year, we're also going to earn 100 rand. So every year, that is what is added to my investment, just that 100 rand. So at the end of 6 years, I only would have actually earned 600 rand worth of interest. Now let's see when we do compound. All right, so compound interest is earned on the original amount plus interest already earned. Now, after 1 year, there's just 1,000 rand in that bank account. Okay, so we are just going to earn 100 rand, which means that after 1 year, I'm going to have the same amount. Okay, I'm still just going to have my original amount plus the 100 rand. Now for the second year, let's see here, it says interest earned on original amount plus interest already earned. So now I'm actually going to earn 10% of 1,100 rand. All right, so the interest is now not only calculated on the original 1,000, but also on the 100 rand that we've added already. So now we're going to do 10% of 1,100, which is 110 rand in the second year. Okay, so in the second year for compound interest, we are already earning more interest than with simple. That's what I want you guys to notice. Do we see that? On simple interest, because we're just earning interest on the original amount every time, we keep earning 100 rand. But with compound interest, as you have more money in the account, you are also going to earn more interest. And that's actually how it works in real life. Okay, so now how much money are we going to have here? 1,210. In the next year, we're going to now earn 10% of 1,210, which is 121 rand. Much more than what we're earning on simple interest. See, with simple interest, we're still just getting 100 rand. With compound interest, we're now getting 121 rand. Okay, so plus 1,210. So now we are on 1,331 rand. Already 31 rand more than on simple interest. Why? Because with simple interest, we're earning the same interest amount every year, just calculated on the original. With compound, the interest is calculated on the amount that's actually in that account. Okay, so now we're going to do 10 over 100, 10% of our new amount, which is 133 rand and 10 cents. You see that it's just getting more and more every year because we have more and more money in that account. So now we're sitting on 1,464 rand and 10 cents. Do we see how much bigger that difference is becoming between the two types of interest? Next year, we're going to earn 10% of this new amount that we have. So now we're going to earn 146 rand and 41 cents compared to 100 rand on simple interest. So now we actually have 1,610 rand and 51 cents. Do we see how much bigger or how much more that is than with simple interest? The last calculation. Now we're going to earn 10% of this amount. So I'm timesing that by 10 over 100. We are now going to get 161 Rand and 5 cents. Okay, we notice here, guys, this is what I was talking about earlier. It is 0.051, but we're working with money. So we have to round to 2 decimals. This last number that we have here, the third digit, is less than 5. So I'm going to round down. I'm going to keep this 5 as it is. If this was a 0.57, for example, we would have said it's 0.6. Okay, when we're rounding. So I'm leaving it as comma 0.5. And that means that we now have, let's do this, 1.51 plus 161.05. We now have 1,771 Rand and 56 cents. Which is what? 170 Rand more than if we had invested it with simple interest. Now guys, I mean 170 Rand, what is that? That's very little. But can you imagine if you are investing millions of rands, all right, if you are lucky enough to be able to do that one day, then that would be a huge difference. Okay. So compound interest is better to invest at because you're earning more interest. But what do we think about when we're taking out a loan? When we're taking out a loan, we have to pay the money back, right? So when we take a loan out, do we want to pay more interest or less interest? Less. So on a loan, it would actually be better to take a loan out on simple interest because then over time, you're going to pay back less interest. Okay, guys, we're never actually going to work it out like this. I just wanted to indicate to you, I just wanted to show you the difference between simple and compound interest and why there is actually a difference, all right? But when they ask us to calculate after 6 years, we're actually going to use this formula. So let's do that quickly. Let's see if we're using this formula, if we get to the same answer. All right, so let's say here, we do a little star using the formula. I'm just going to rewrite the question so that it looks like a question, you know, how it would actually look. You invest 1,000 Rand for 6 years in an account earning 10% per annum compound interest. How much money is in the account after the 6 years? Okay, now, like I said, we're not going to calculate it like this. I mean, you can if you want to, but it's going to take quite long, all right? We can also just use the formula. So now, guys, when you're reading a question, you need to check in the question, am I working with simple interest or am I working with compound interest? They will now have to specify. Okay, morning. So the specification there, we need to check that it is compound interest. Thank you. All right. So that means that we must use the compound interest formula. If it had said simple interest, we're going to use the simple interest formula. Okay, so that's very important. We do A equals P bracket 1 plus I to the power of N. That is the compound interest formula. Guys, if you use the wrong formula, you get 0 straight away. Okay? Not like you lose 1 mark for wrong formula and then we CA after that. Wrong formula is a 0. Okay, what is the P value? How much am I investing? 1,000 bracket 1 plus. What is the interest rate? The I value is 10%. 10 over 100. Now we close our bracket. And now our n, our number of years, is our exponent. With simple interest, we would have said times 6 and then close the bracket. Okay, compound interest, we have to close the bracket, then to the power of 6. Let's see. Now we're going to type it in. 1,000 bracket 1 plus 10 over 100 bracket closed to the power of, so you see that button, it's an X with a little block in the exponent, or as the exponent, you press that button and then the exponent block comes up. Then you press your 6. Equals. Isn't that the same answer that we got up there? Yes. Okay, so guys, don't work it out like we did here. This was just an experiment just to see what happens as the years go by. The answer is 1,771 rand and 56 cents. Follow-up question. How much interest was earned? Now guys, if I invested 1,000 rand, but I'm getting 1,771 rand and 56 cents, there's obviously a difference there. And we know that that difference is because of the interest. So the interest is 1,771.56 minus the amount that we actually invested. What we get up minus what we put in. So 771 rand and 56 cents. And that's basically it, guys, for compound interest. Okay, I quickly want to take a look at the worksheets that are on Google Classroom to see if I can give you any of those for homework. Put the worksheet on the board as well. You guys can just write the mixed worksheet. And we're going to do numbers 1 to 5. Yes? Yeah. Mixed worksheet, numbers 1 to 5. Write that down, please. Mixed worksheet, numbers 1 to 5. So this worksheet is on Google Classroom. You'll see it's mixed worksheet. I think it's number 1. There is a second one as well. Okay, so mixed worksheet, numbers 1 to 5. And then that is what it looks like. So it says simple and compound interest worksheet. And there you're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, it's now where you have to do a calculation. Often you have to do a calculation with simple interest and then with compound interest and then complete it. All right. Number 1, then just look at the wording. They're saying the interest is compounded annually at 12% per annum. They're saying compounded, that means that it's compound interest. Does that make sense? Right? In number 2, they're saying 20,000 rand, blah, blah, blah. Calculate the value of the investment and the interest earned if it's calculated as simple. Then you use the simple interest formula. Compound, then you use the compound interest formula. Number 3, what's happening here? X rand. Right, they haven't given you an actual value. So in your formula, you're going to put X as your key value. Your bracket is what you can actually calculate. Right, and the size of the bracket, whether the bracket gives you a bigger number or smaller number, that will help you to decide which one would be a better option. You're going to look at what your bracket is actually equal to. Okay, so X doesn't have a value. So what does your bracket equal? If the one bracket gives you 1,2 and the other bracket gives you 1,7, which one is the better option if you're investing? Would you want 1,2 or 1,7? Which one is bigger? 1,2 or 1,7? 1,7, hey? So that's what I'm saying. You can't work out the actual investment because they aren't telling you how much you actually put in, but you can calculate the bracket in the formula. 40,000 rand deposited in a savings account and they again compounded annually, so that's compound interest. They want you to do the calculation for 5 years. So your end is 5. Then for 10 years. So your end is 10. Then for 20 years. So end is 20. Okay, number 5. Mr. Mayor takes out a loan of 240,000 rand to start a business. The loan is repaid in one amount at the end of 3 years. Calculate how much money you would need to repay the loan if the interest is calculated as 16% per annum simple interest. So you're going to use the simple interest formula and your interest is 16 over 100. 5.2, 13% compound. So for that, we're going to use the compound interest formula and the R is going to be 50 over 100. Okay, so those are the ones to get, numbers 1 to 5. I'll put this up now again. I just want to show you where to find it. If you go onto grade 9 maths 2021 classwork, if you click on finance note, you will go to worksheets. Then it will take you to this folder and you're doing mixed worksheet 1. All right, numbers 1 to 5. Okay, get going, guys. You can listen to music if you want. This is for tomorrow.